Om Sadashiva Samarambam Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Paramparam Ishvaro Guratmeti Mujibeda Vibhagine Vyo Magda Vyakta Dehaya Dakshinamurtaye Namaha Savavedanta Siddhanta Zocharam Tamagocharam Govindam Paramanandam Satguru Pranatoshmam Om Shanti 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 Om. Okay, namaste, welcome. So we have seen last class, verse 13, the no difference between the jiva and the Atma. Now, jiva Atma. So there are two parts there, quote unquote. One is the jiva, body, mind, sense complex, and the other is the Atma, the self, which enlivens and moves this jiva. Yeah? So there is a difference between jiva and Atma. The non-difference between this jiva jata is spread through all statements of identity of the Upanishads. Okay, and the notion of jiva-atma as different from the atma, jiva as different from the atma, is criticized or condemned. Condemned is a heavy word. It's just is pointed out as a common mistake, to believe that the jiva and the atma are two different entities. So such a teaching, which is mentioned above, becomes consistent in this way only, meaning to say that the teachings presented by Gaudapada, they are consistent with the Upanishads, consistent with all texts of Vedanta. There is no difference. So Jivatma, Paramatma, Aikya. Okay, verse 14 is the one we should begin today, Mark? Yeah?
I believe so, Alindo. Yeah.
Okay.
I think so.
Verse 14, the separateness of the jiva and the atma, which is declared in the scriptures before the statements, the final statements of identity. Yeah? They are declared in the scriptures. Now, creation is only secondary with regard to the future teaching. So all the teachings that support the origination or creation of the jiva and of jagata, they are just provisory teachings. They are secondary with regard to the future teachings. The future teaching, the final teachings, is of identities. Identities, if we see here and there some scriptural, even Upanishad declarations of suggesting some sort of difference. So which are these teachings? They're the teachings that we should take in consideration the Creator, Ishvara, Saguna Ishvara, and be a devote and praise Ishvara and live in that kind of triangular mode as presented by Swami Paramartananda. I am the Jiva, Ishvara is the creator, and the world is a dangerous place to be. Therefore, I'm going to search security within the creator. So that is the triangular. So those are absolutely necessary, but they are just primary teachings for, as we say, the junior students. Therefore, it's not at all proper to attribute much importance to these primary teachings, because they are designed to get the junior student moving. If the Upanishads, if Vedanta presents the fact that there is only consciousness and the world is just an appearance, but it's not real. No? And the self is the only reality. The Atma is the only reality, the substratum of Ishvara, Jiva, and Jagata. And then the student is going to find himself or herself in confusion. And so how so? I mean, I have been a devote to Ishvara. I was suggested to be a devote to Ishvara. Yes, we must be devote to Ishvara because they are not mutual exclusives, So Mithya and Satya, so they exist simultaneously. So there is what it means. It means that Mithya is there pervading Satya, consciousness, Brahman exists pervading Mithya, or as the adhistanam, as the substratum of Mithya. So Mithya exists within the scope of Satchitananda, consciousness, Brahman, Turiya, howsoever. Yeah? So they are all the time there together. Okay, and we need to understand that there are laws and principles we see in this mirage, this superimposition of namarupas and colors, that needs to be observed. And one of them is the laws which relate to the relationship between creator, creature, and creation, and its laws and principles. So one thing does not exclude the other. So the appearance jiva needs to go through this process until it develops the qualifications needed to understand the final future teachings for highly advanced students of Vedanta. Okay, give me just a moment. Let me just pause here. Uh, how do I pause it? Hmm. Uh, how strange. Hmm. Okay, I got it. Just 1 minute. Okay, so yeah, we are advanced students and we understand both statements. We understand spirituality on the triangular kind of format, and we understand on the binary format, which is the ultimate means by which one understands one's free and independent nature as Satyam, as Brahman, as Turiya. And we have no problem. We make no conflict. We don't find any contradiction between the two teachings. Isn't it so? So here again, Swami is saying the same thing. If the identity is glorified and the difference is negated, there may be a possible doubt in the mind of the Vedanti, because the Vedas represents a much bigger portion the of the Vedas. Now there is a huge portion of the Vedas which is dedicated to the relationship between Jiva, Ishvara, and Jagata. Okay, and it's maybe 90%. Some say, yeah? And the final part of the Vedas represents to a small portion in which we find the declaration, the Mahavakyas, the mantras that establish the identity between Jiva and Atma. Jiva Atma, Paramatma, no difference. So all the teachings based on karma, dharma, describes this relationship between Jiva and Ishvara, and way by which we should understand this apparent order as the apparent Jiva and conform to the laws and principles of this apparent order so that we can understand the final declarations of identity. Yeah? And then, of course, we remain in the religious, sacred samsara for some time, no problem. It's a good samsara. No? So if we have to stay in the samsara, better we have a good samsara. But for Vedantins such as ourselves, we can still take into account Ishvara and my jiva nature and the nature of Jagata just for transactional purpose, and I take it all into account, and I have no confusion. So if you neutralize the belief that duality is reality, the Shwara is absolutely real, and Jagata is absolutely real, and the Jiva is absolutely real, if you neutralize the sense of attribution of reality to that, and then you can still transact in a triangle mode without producing samsara. Because you have neutralized by understand what belongs to Mithya and what belongs to Satya, and not make a confusion between one and the other. No? So the triangle model offers us some advantage. Veda uses this advantage, yeah, for what? For mental preparedness, development of certain mental, emotional, psychological, and intellectual qualifications, maturity, enough qualification and maturity to enter the Shravanam, Manana, Nididhyasana. He says, like, he presents this analogy. I like the analogy of the banana. So, as we know, the banana always comes with the skin. Yeah? And the skin is very important in the process of ripening. Try to ripen a banana, peeling a banana before time. It will never ripen. Ripen, I don't know. We need to keep the skin on until time comes for discarding the skin, because now I want to have it, I want to eat it. Yeah? So this triangular mode is kind of a necessary protection to the jiva atma. Jiva atma is the banana, and it needs the protection. The protection is a religious, spiritual life in which the individual brought Ishvara into one's life's equation. You understand? So, and then that is going to offer the protection so that the Jivatma can grow, and later on it can drop the pill and then understand the final declarations. So Advaita, this division is required and is a provisional teaching. It's not the prominent teaching, even though it covers 8 or 90% of the Vedas. The ultimate teaching of Vedanta is, as we know, Advaita. The Advaita is only temporary. Ultimately, this has to be dropped. And then the question becomes, so when I'm going to drop it? Yeah. Maybe you thought about that, Lynn?
As soon as possible. Except it doesn't mean you don't love the triangular format. Doesn't that affection stay with you, and that appreciation for the beauty of the creation and just stays?
Exactly. Yeah. So this plurality, this dividing, this division between I, myself, and the creator. The creator is something other than myself. It's accepted temporarily, yeah? And And then it says here, how long? How long I'm going to keep this? When I'm going to drop? I think he was talking about dropping it. Ultimate has to be dropped. Yeah, ultimate, it has to be dropped. So my take here is that it drops by itself. You understand? So knowledge, clarity of knowledge, conviction of knowledge is going to make it drop by itself, because for as long as the ego wants to drop it to go into a higher status of notions and ideas about itself, it may be just another ego movement to build up some good notions about myself. So it drops by itself, and it's almost unperceivable. Okay, so you're gonna see yourself moving more and more into the such a meteor final discrimination, until I'm totally convinced that I'm free and independent from the body mind and the world I experience through the body mind, because I am Satya. I'm blessing, I'm validating this universe. Everything is an object, and every object is mithya, is a superimposition, until this knowledge is so firm. You understand? Is the binary kind of last stage in the Vedanta teachings. Now, so we get there naturally. It's almost like uh, unperceivably, when you see you are more focused on that such a mithya discrimination, and less involved in the relationship jiva atma, who is searching for security on in Ishvara against dangerous world. So that is going to shifting naturally, gradually. Okay, we don't need to make it happen. It happens as we establish more and more clarity and conviction in regards to my nature as Satya, and Ishwara, Jiva, and Jaga as Mithya. But that is not going to cancel my appreciation and my gratitude for the opportunity of appearing here with as an apparent jiva, to understand my superior real nature as such as Atma, jiva. So jiva serves only the purpose for me to understand my inner nature as Atma. The jiva is the peel of the banana, and the banana itself is Satya in this analogy. So I'm appearing here in this apparent reality, just as an opportunity to understand the true absolute nature of the self, of the Atma, the only reality. Yeah? All the Namarupas are superimposed or projected upon me. So it's going to be dropped naturally. Therefore, Vedas do not prescribe a time limit. When one comes to the Advaita teaching, one can continue in Karma Yoga, in which the seeker is a Jiva, Ishvara is different from him, or Brahman is different. And Jiva does good karma and accepts the results from Ishvara with a certain spirit, of gratitude as prasada. And simultaneously praying to Ishvara, okay, there is some tough stuff, very tough parabada coming my way, so I know I have no power to cancel it. It's in this system, and it's coming to me. It's my parabada, as it seems, but give me the strength to take it, because those are choiceless situations that cannot be negated. At the time of the exposure of Vedanta, the process will result in academic knowledge. Academic knowledge is fine, yeah, until the conversion between academic knowledge into direct, immediate, doubtless self-knowledge takes place. That takes place how so? As assimilation and internalization takes place. And assimilation and internalization, of course, as one clears all possible doubts in regards to the teachings. And then someone may say, oh, but I'm not even aware of having doubts, but the teaching is not really being assimilated and internalized and digested, but I have no clue about doubts. Huh? And then we need to look into what? If I am not even aware of my doubts, it means to say that I'm not aware of the obstacles for the assimilation and internalization. And the obstacles may be some mental impurities or some skaras or vasanas that somehow are creating mental disturbance, which is preventing me from properly assimilating and internalize. So sometimes we need to step back and work on our qualifications, and the qualifications, they come about, they develop about with karma yoga, and then I'm back into the triangle format. Okay, so this has to be all understood and put in proper perspective. So the triangle format should be give away to binary format. Advaitam should be received, and if it's not time yet, if it's too much to the inquirer to accept and to work on the Advaitam format, yeah, the Vedantine should accept it as informational knowledge, and continue in the Karma Yoga and the Upasana Yoga until conditions are more favorable for the binary format. Right? Any doubts about that? Verse 15, creation has been taught in many ways through the examples of clay, gold, spark. It is a method for the understanding of non-duality. So there is no duality anyhow. So how are we going to understand the true nature of reality if the true nature of reality is absolutely attributeless? So how can something which has no characteristics, properties, attributes, how can something like that be taught as this or that? You understand? So we say this or that in reference to the qualities, properties, characteristics, purpose, and utilities of things. But consciousness is not a thing. Well, so how are we going to be taught the self which has no properties and attributes? So we need to go about the examples or analogies, metaphors, which is going to create parallels for us to understand the nature of consciousness, such as what? Such as space, such as the light, our sunlight that reveals everything without any ever being modified and without doing anything. So we have all these teachings, examples, analogies, because it's the only method to understand that which is free of any and all kinds of attributes. Okay? So by doing so, we come to the same conclusion that there is no duality in reality, and there is no reality in this apparent duality, meaning to say this jagata, which in which the jiva is included. With this, the third topic of negation of the jiva, with the scriptures is over. Gaudapada now enters the fourth topic of Jagata. Shrist, the the origination of the Jagat. With the third topic, the negation of the origination, the birth of Jiva, was concluded by this pramana, scriptural pramana, and therefore it's over. Gaudapada now enters the fourth topic of origination of the universe from the viewpoint of the scriptural pramana, the means by which we can know things. Meaning what? The scriptural, revealed scriptures, revealed knowledge by which we can know certain things. Which kind of a thing? That which you are free of any and possible quality or property or attributes. So we need the scriptural knowledge, yeah, to support all this logic, all these analogies, all these examples presented to us by the rishis. Yeah? Gaudapada's conclusion is that the world has not been originated in Brahman. From Brahman, he started by answering any possible questions. It said that nothing is originated and the world has not originated from Brahman, but the Upanishad talk about the origination of a world. Some Upanishads talk about that. Gaudapada seems to contradict some Upanishads. And the negation of the origination of the world, as we heard Swamiji and Gaudapada present, is the toughest teaching of Vedanta. And it's difficult to accept it and difficult to understand, and it's difficult to explain it. Well, it's very difficult to explain it, to believe it. Any number of examples of this can be given. The Mandukya and Taittiriya Upanishads talk about this origination elaborately. So there are some Upanishads that suggest that there is really origination or creation of the universe. The Chandogya Upanishad in the 6th chapter session talks about the origination of the world by giving examples of earthenwares, objects of clay and clay. Various iron materials out of the substance known as iron. Several ornaments from the same gold. So we have all of those examples giving us a suggestion that there is a certain creation or origination. Chandogya Upanishad clearly says that similar to examples such as the gold and the ornaments, the objects in the world come out of Brahman. Brahman is the gold and the ornaments, the objects, the namarupas, jiva and the world. Okay, so how can Gaudapada now contradict all these statements and the scriptures of other Upanishads? Gaudapada says that the Upanishads do talk about certain creation, but do not really mean it. Okay, he says that the Upanishads only temporarily present the creation as though it has come. He says that this will become clear if the Upanishads are studied through to the very end. Manana and Nididhyasana should be done back and forth. The very Upanishad that talks about creation negates it in the end. The entire teaching of Vedanta is about that, projection and negation or retraction. Adyaropa Apavad. The very Upanishad that talks about creation negates it. If the Upanishads really meant to say that the world was created out of Brahman, it should stay with that conclusion to the very end. Yeah? To the very end, it should stay with the conclusion that yes, Brahman has created the world, and the world is real, such as Brahman is real. Both are real. Therefore, duality is reality as well. From this, it is clear that the Upanishads introduce creation, origination temporarily for the purpose of teaching Brahman. And once Brahman is understood, the idea of creation must be dropped. So the creator can only be understood from the standpoint of the analysis of the creation. There is a creation. We don't know what it is. It appears to be solid and tangible and real. So, and then we are introduced to the concept that there is no creation without a creator. And then we develop a relationship with the creator, yeah? Until this creator, which appears first as Saguna creator, Saguna Brahman, Saguna Ishvara, is understood to be Nirguna Brahman, Nirguna creator. Yeah? So the purpose of the teaching is to understand Brahman in its intrinsic or fundamental nature. And once that subtlety of understand in respect to the only reality, which is the creator in respect to the apparent creation, until we can understand that there is no real creation. Yeah? And then we're going to understand what the substratum of this apparent creation, which is no longer colored by the gunas. It's Nirguna, Ishvara, Nirguna, Brahman. So, but of course, the Vedantine, the thinker, the spiritual religious person needs to develop a certain mind, which is so subtle, so that it may be successful in understanding and be transformed by this understanding uh, of that which is the most subtle of the subtle, yeah? The most invisible of the invisible, the most pervasive of the pervasible. Yeah? So understanding Brahman in its nirguna nature requires very, very subtle, pure, sattvic mind. And I think we all agree on that. Okay. So our relationship to Brahman will depend on the degree of subtlety and purity of our minds. Okay. So we need to access that as well to see if we want to do our nididhyasana on a sort of Saguna Brahman or Nirguna Brahman. You understand? Because if the mind is not totally prepped, developed, it becomes too subtle for the mind, which is still a bit denser than it is required. But once we get that kind of preparedness, the Saguna nature of Brahman is left behind, and then I get the understanding of Nirguna nature of Brahman. Saguna nature of Brahmana is something that holds duality. Saguna nature of Ishvara is going to hold duality because the Jiva Atma by no means can say, I, Jiva Atma, I am identical to Ishvara Atma. No? Because the Saguna nature of Brahman is total knowledge. Yeah? Total knowledge, total intelligence, supreme knowledge. And Jiva knowledge, Jiva intelligence is very limited. So as long as we stay in this dualistic relationship with Saguna Brahman, I will never be able to establish I am God. I am Saguna Brahman. And it's good that you don't fall for that because there are some fools around the world believing that I am God. You understand? God, the creator, and I know how to control my parabada. I know how to, live the life that I dream. I know how to attract only punya and so on. No, Jivatma has no means to say I am identical with Ishvara Atma. Jivatma can only establish its identity with what? With Paramatma, right? Is it clear, Mark?
Yeah. However, we can still understand that my very essence and the essence of Ishvara is the same.
Absolutely. But when you understand the essential nature of yourself and as identical to the essential nature of Ishvara, we are no longer talking about the gunas. And people tend to superimpose and believe, yes, so I am co-creator, I'm the creator, I am God, I can do what I want, I can. So that is the common misunderstanding. But the right understand is exactly what you say. I can understand my true fundamental nature yeah, as the substratum of Ishvara, Jiva, Jagata. There is only one reality, and is the substratum. And when I come to that understanding of the substratum of Ishvara, Jiva, Jagat, I have established I am of the substratum of Nirguna Ishvara, Nirguna Brahma, or Paramatma. Yeah? Jiva Atma, Ishvara Atma, Paramatma, I care. We can throw there Ishvara Atma as well. There is only one Atma. From this, it's clear that the Upanishads introduced creation temporarily for the purpose of the teachings. So the right perspective and knowledge is that the world must be understood as an appearance. And an appearance was never really created, as the very word denotes an appearance of that which appears with no cause, understandable cause, exactly like what? The dream state, the dream world. It appears. It's not really, we are not there working on it. It just poof. That's why Gaudapada have been hammering on this, the parallel between the dream and the waking world. No? Okay, moving on. Gaudapada has taken up the toughest project, which is explaining the nature of this world, which is said to be something very beautiful. It's not sat, it's not a sat, it is mitya. Yeah? It's something that's not really existing. It's not non-existing. It is apparently existing. Yeah? This is the brilliance of the notions introduced by Vedanta. The notions are what? Mitya and put the power of Maya. Maya and Mitya, it's what characterizes the brilliance of this teaching, that we can that far understand this universe as a projection, but not really knowing how Maya does that. And we know it's not really real because the scriptures declare it, and logic, as presented by the scriptures and analyzed by our best Mahatmas, best Gurus, yeah? Gaudapada and Shankaracharya, among many, yeah? Established by logic that the nature of the world is not Satya, but it is Mithya. Yeah? The existence of the world is negated. The origination of the world is negated. The appearance must be accepted, and the utilitarian value for transaction must be accepted because we are integral part of this mutual world as jivas. Yeah? And we need to accept the appearance and the attribution of utilitarian value to whatsoever the namarupa is there, which is going to facilitate our experience, our mutual experience, in a way that we can develop certain mental qualifications or qualities to understand Satya as the substratum of this mutual apparent reality. And then, as we know, Gaudapada says that the cause is not Brahman, the origination is not due to Brahman, the origination, the cause is called Maya or Mula Avidya. So how come this universe appears to be so real? How come the dream world appears to be so real? It is a projection. The dreamer takes the projection of the dream world to be real. And then upon awakening, the dreamer becomes the awaker and says, oh my God, it was just a dream. It was just an illusion. There was no reality to that. So there was a certain ignorance during the dream world, the dream state, the dreaming entity. that somehow made the dreamer to believe, to trust that he was interacting in a field of reality. But later on, he re-examines one's experience in retrospective and say, no, there was no reality, it was a projection. So Gaudapada and all our Mahatmas explains to us that the awakening world and the awakening entity, the Vishwa, as well, is a projection, and it's not absolutely real. It's an appearance, and that is the most difficult teaching of Vedanta. How can I take myself, this body, mind, sense complex, to be just a projection, appearance? And then it opens up space for all kinds of speculation, in the esoteric, mystic, and all these people talking so much BS about around this, saying, oh, it is a projection, this is a simulation, this is done by a computer, this is done for Illuminati. But there is all kind of nonsense out there. You understand? So why? Because it's so difficult to understand the Upanishads when they say that the awakening world as well is not real. It's a projection. It appears. Okay. And then we have to go through all these teachings to understand that, yeah, it just appears and disappears and it's changed from a moment to a moment. And that includes the body mind. What is real in all of this? So I like to put there is some element of reality within the human experience. And this element of reality is what? It's not the world and it's not the body mind sense complex. It's what? It's I consciousness. I am the only reality that all scientific communities miss on that. Yeah? The light of consciousness of the observer, the witnessing conscious existing principle. So how come we have a hard time to believe that this awakening state is just a projection such as the dream world, but this projection is produced by a higher power called Maya Shakti, which is also often presented as the original ignorance. Very intelligent, very fascinating Mula Avidya, which prevents us from understand that we are living in a dream world while awake. If we're going to have a discussion with the dreamer, then the dreamer is going to reject the same way we reject now. How? It's impossible. You tell me that the Upanishads tell me that I'm living a dream world, believing that's real, and then we have to remember that the dreamer would react the same way. But that does not make the dream world real. So the whole teaching of Mandukya is in reference to the three states, in reference to the fact that there are three states with three entities, and then there is a fourth element, the fourth factor, which is not a state, but it's Turiya. And this Turiya needs to be understood and claimed to be my true nature. And then from that perspective of understanding, that perspective of knowledge, from that perspective, a sense of identity, and then only then I can see this awakening state and the awakening entity as well as a projection. I did not project it. I don't even know how to project the dream world, and I don't know how to project the dreamer entity, which is associated with my soul. So some other power project all these realities. Yeah? And we can wake up from the dream in the middle of the night as the Vishwa, we woke up, and then we need to wake up from this Vishwa, physical material, Jagata, universe, okay? And we can only wake up, not literally, but we can wake up cognitively, understanding our true nature as Turiya. And that's called the second awakening, the awakening from the awakening state into your Turiya nature. And then the awakened state only then can be seen as an incredible projection produced by the power of Maya And we have no means to understand how Maya does that. We don't know. And then we have to go through these teachings to understand that any projection, any superimposition of namarupas does not attribute reality to the namarupas themselves. It at the most serves the purpose to point us that there is a substratum behind any namarupa, such as the gold, behind every gold ornament, namarupas, so that we can understand the substantial, essential nature, intrinsic nature of everything. Therefore, we come to the conclusion, finally enough, that the world must be negated. How so? As absolute reality, is an apparent reality, is a relative reality, is a conditional reality. Conditioned to what? To the visual, to that kind of body, in that kind of state. Only that kind of body with that kind of state can have access to this physical material universe. Is it really solid? No, it appears to be solid because our sense, the structure of our sense instruments are such that perceive this world as physical material world. As we know, I mean, science has established that a wall is not really solid. If you really look into the wall, you're going to see a lot of space with some particles or energy spinning around the nucleus, and we see that things are not exactly the way they are. So that is the nature of Maya, the power of Maya, how he can do that, create this projection of energy and then create the sense instruments of a certain sentient creatures called the human jiva, such that the jiva perceives things as physical, tangible, so that we are all deluded. That's why sometimes James likes to say Maya Shwara must be perverted, because how can they do something so deceiving? We need to look through all of these teachings to slowly but gradually and surely understand that the only reality is I, consciousness, and I see the world, Mitra, as an object according to see me. And I am validating and blessing this world with apparent reality. So how does the world appear as existent? So I know that I must negate it, but tell me, how did Maya pull it off? I mean, the world is appearing in the awakened state. Everything appears to exist. Gaudapada says that even though the world appears to exist, one should not accept it as real existing, real existence. The existence which is appearing in the world does not belong to the world. The existence of the world does not belong to the world. The consciousness of the jiva does not belong to the jiva, the body, mind, sense complex. The existence of the jiva does not belong to the body, mind, sense complex. Existence is not part, product, and property of the body, mind, sense complex. And the consciousness of the jiva, likewise, is not part, product, or property of the body, mind, sense complex. None of this belongs to the world. The world has an apparent existence, and what is attributing apparent reality to this world? Consciousness, I consciousness. I don't know how it is done, but I have established that I am consciousness. Therefore, I have to accept my responsibility. So I'm here blaming Maya Ishwara, but I am consciousness. I'm this. The true nature of Maya Ishwara. Maya Atma, Ishwara Atma, and Jiva Atma is Paramatma. So I have a certain degree of responsibility. So existence is one and the same of non-dual nature, and this world appears and borrows. So now borrows existence from me, consciousness, and this can be seen literally in the way we jiva atmas, under the spell of ignorance, we keep attributing and reinforcing the belief that there is intrinsic existence to the world. You remember the teaching of Panchadas? No? The tree exists. No? Oh, everything exists. And then it seems that every Namarupa has its own existence. No? And then we need to reverse that to understand that the trees are not existing. Existence is treeing. No? Existence is dogging. No? Existence is one humaning, appearing as humans, there is only one source of existence. This existence does not belong to this world. This existence belongs to me, consciousness. So the existence of this world appears to be, defined by its namarupas. Yeah? The same way that the moving namarupas appearing on the screen, projecting the cinema hall, appears to be intrinsically real to those namarupas, but the only reality is what is a combination of the projector light and the screen on which those factors project. So there is no reality to these moving pictures that are perceived in our minds with the aid of our brain. Gaudapada hammers the fact that there is no actual intrinsic existence in the world, but it does not belong to the world. It's this apparent existence belongs to me, the Atma, who me, the only me, the observer. Moonlight is on the moon, but moonlight is not of the moon. Very nice. Consciousness and existence appears reflect on the body-mind-sense complex, but it's not of the body-mind-sense complex. So the body-mind-sense complex is just a phenomenon that, of course, we see that which is Satchitananda, Turiya. Yeah? Similarly, Gaudapada says that existence is along with the world, but it does not belong to the world. Its existence is the support, the adhisthana, yeah, on which the world is projected, superimposed. It appears, borrowing existence from Turiya, from Brahman, and it appears, and the word appearance means it appears. It was not really created, it just appears magically due to certain powers. Yeah? Call it Nidra Shakti for the dream world, or Maya Shakti for the waking world, the physical world. We have no clue how those things appear. No? And we better get over and stop trying to understand how Maya deludes all of us with this superimposition, this projection, which appears real, but it's not real. I don't need to understand how Maheshwara does that. It's enough to know that it's Mula Vidya. Huh? It is a certain power to delude. It's enough to know by logic and by scriptural declarations that this is just a projection due to a certain deceiving power of Maya. Yeah? It appears on me. I am the substratum, I am the adhisthana, I am the background or the support on which this appearance occurs. And therefore, I was not creating, originating. There is no question of a creation. There is only question of an appearance that occurs within me. This is the final understand that needs to be properly established, so that we don't fall for this Maya trick over and over again and get all excited. Yeah. Comes the next question. In negating the origination, the creator, but accept the appearance of the world, what advantage I have by doing that? It seems that Gaudapada is treating us just changing the world. One is there is origination, and now he's saying there is an appearance. So what is the difference? The fact is it appears. Huh? So it's using two names, such as third world country and developing country. In the past, they used third world country, and then it was not politically correct to say that. They started to use developing nations. No? So they are the same thing. No? It's just an appearance, apparent world, which needs to be known as an appearance. And it's not really real, but it's a meteor reality. Gaudapada is particular because once you say that the world has originated from Brahman, it becomes real, it becomes Satya. So that's the point, that's the key. Let me highlight this one here. If we take the creation of the world as origination of the world, using several metaphors, among them the stick, the essence that create patterns, that appear to be extension of the light. So if we take those things to be really originated by Brahman, and then we are in the land of duality. And then the world becomes Satya, and I, consciousness, becomes Satya as well. And then we have reality in both I, myself, and the world. And there are several schools, mystical, spiritual schools, that defends that principle that I am real and the world is real. And if there are two principles, both of them are real. So, as we know, we need to consciously or unconsciously accept the fact that wherever there is plurality or duality, there is change. And then my status as a changeless, beginningless, unborn principle is compromised. Security is compromised. Security is only accepted if I understand that I am the only reality, consciousness, Brahman, Turiya, Satchitananda. So if there is only one, if the nature of reality is non-duality, and then there is nothing to be concerned, there is no harm that can ever be infringed on someone, on something which is one without anything else. No duality is the only security. Duality is insecure, and it's impossible to feel secure in duality. So if we project Satya in the meteor world, we're in trouble again. Therefore, we need to establish very clearly that I am the only reality. I am Satya, and the world is meteor, a projection. Howsoever Maya does that, but it happens within me without affecting me. And then there are some elements of a human experience that can testify to that. There are some analysis of experience in the light of the teaching of Vedanta that we can identify that aspect of our human experience that does not change. The intellect, the mind, and the sense, and everything is going to be changed together with the objects being received through those instruments of perception. But there is something within me that does not change. So I am that Satya, I am that consciousness, the only reality. Therefore, Gaudapada rejects the world as Satya. The world never came from Brahman. Brahman cannot create anything, because how can a principle which is one without any other thing create something? So you need raw material to create something, right? You cannot create, no, but like the spider creates out of itself. No, it's a good example. No? The spider is an exception to the rule. You can create the universe the same way Brahman creates this world. The same way the spider creates from itself. The spider is the intelligent cause and the material cause of the net that she world, her universe is that. So likewise, Brahman can do the same trick and remains free and independent from the creation in which he was the intelligent cause and the material cause. So all these teachings are going to be retracted, negated for several different reasons. And the purpose is never to accept the world as real, howsoever Brahman could do that, being the intelligent and the material cause to pacify the mind of everybody who believes in the creation. Yet that would attribute reality to the world. And if there is a reality to the world, and then we're going to begin leaning on the world to find moksha, and there will be no means of moksha. And the scripture says there is such a thing as moksha, and can only be gained by acknowledging that the nature of reality is non-duality, and I, as conscious existence, am the only reality. So Gaudapada is very particular in using the word appearance over and over again, like I often do. Vedanta also recognizes that a student cannot accept and assimilate this teaching easily. Vedanta does not give this teaching in the beginning, but in the very end. The initial teachings that the world has been originated from Brahman. Then the student will take the world to be Satya. Vedantic teaching does not disturb the mind of the junior student and just let him go with it, that the consciousness, Brahman is Satya and the world is Satya as well. It's okay. Keep it for a moment, for the time being. The student takes Jiva, Jagat, and Shwara to be Satya as well as the Atma to be Satya. Vedanta uses this plurality, this duality, in the process of preparing the mind. Mithya, Dvaitam, is useful for refining the mind, similar to our reflection in the mirror. Even though the reflection is Mithya, it's very useful. Yeah, Vedanta uses the Dvaita world without telling it is Mithya right from the beginning. The way the teaching uses Dvaita is Karma Yoga for the development of proper attitude of offerable actions, no? And the acceptance of the results as prasada from Ishvara. Thereafter, the Upanishad introduced Upasana Yoga, again, more duality. I, the meditator, and my object of meditation, which is Saguna Ishvara. Jiva Ishvara duality is maintained through Karma, Dharma, and Upasana Yoga. This practice, they are going to take their time until it refines the mind. Then the Upanishad teaches that the Advaitam, this Advaitam that you have been experienced as thought is in reality not Satya, but it's a Mithya reality. This Advaita was never really created, originated from Brahman. It just appears due to Mula avidya. Thus, origination is introduced first and taken away later on, as we know. The reflection in the mirror serves a certain purpose, but in the end, we never take ourselves to be that image in the mirror. We discard the image because the reflection has served the purpose of me fixing my hair. We use the word qualify yourself, dismiss the word, and understand it's just a reflection. This is the Vedantic development. The scriptures temporarily accept the origination of the world by giving various examples such clay, gold, and iron materials, and so on. Based on this acceptance, you should not conclude that the world was created really. Atma was not created the space we see, the clay pots, and the clay pots were not really created by the potter because the clay pot is but clay fundamentally. It's only a temporary stepping stone or method for driving home the Vedantic teaching later. A dualistic world is really not there. It's only an appearance. It's unbelievable, but it's true. Several examples can be considered for this method of teaching. Accept the scriptural knowledge, go to Advaitam, and then discard the scriptures. Or discard the origination, the creation of the universe, the reality of the universe. He did not mention the scripture. But in the end, you will see we're going to have to let go even the scripture to remain as we are. No? Okie dokie. So here we are. We begin next Friday on verse 16. Tomorrow we go back to the Gita. Okay, same time, same Mithya reality, Mithya apparent reality. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishate. Om Shanti 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 Om. Namaste. Thank you. We meet tomorrow again.
Thank you, Arlindo. Beautiful satsang.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
See you tomorrow. Bye now.
Yeah.